Hi, my name is Max. I'm one of the brokers from Golden Eggs Home Loans. This is part 3 of 3 on is it risky to be a guarantor? And actually that's what we're going to talk about in this video. In the previous videos, we learned that actually one of my preferred options is to do 2 separate loans. An 80% loan without a guarantor and then a smaller guarantor loan. Now there are some risks associated with being a guarantor, but there's risks also associated with buying any property and getting a loan. So now let's look at some of those risks. Firstly, one of the income earners in the household could lose their job because they get made redundant. We talked about the doomsday scenario of people not having jobs before. The second one is that they could lose their job simply because they get sick or injured and they can't work anymore. It's not their fault, but the reality is it can happen. Another problem is the relationship. Obviously, the relationship can break down and assets would need to be split. The great thing is at least the property can't be sold and the equity taken out without all of the loans, including the guarantor loan, being paid out and closed. You've also got the issue of the kids having kids, and that's grandkids for the parents. And that can have an impact both on the cost of living and also on losing an income temporarily. You think that interest rates also could suddenly jump. You've then got the economy, which we said before could have unexpected consequences with both jobs and property prices. And then you've got the usual things like fire and flood. But obviously, with owning a property, as anyone knows, you're also responsible for the other issues of the property. That includes unexpected repairs. The worst in my experience is usually roofs. Suddenly the roof needs replacing or repairing. Now, even if you buy a unit, if there's something dramatic has to happen with the property, what tends to happen is that they could put a special levy through the strata. Now, if we can solve all of these problems, then obviously it's worth moving forward. So let's look at how we solve them. In terms of losing your job or being made redundant, I want to park that for a second. In terms of losing your job because you get sick or injured, you really must have income protection. If I was going to guarantor for one of my kids, I would insist that they have income protection insurance in place before we go ahead and do the guarantor. Now, in terms of the relationship breakdown, it's always wise to get legal advice, both for the kids themselves and for us as parents, or whoever's being guarantor. When it comes to kids or grandkids, I'm going to park that issues. For interest rates, we really need to consider fixed rates. In the example we gave earlier where we have a separate loan, we could, for example, fix the 80% loan for say 3 or 5 years, which then gives us time to focus on paying down the other one without the risk that interest rates suddenly jump. The economy, we're not really sure what we can do about that. So we'll park that one. In terms of fire and flood, obviously you need to have buildings insurance. Again, when it comes to unexpected repairs, I'm going to park that issue. Now, all those issues that we've parked with the question marks are going to get solved with one simple word. And that's what we call the buffer. Now, the buffer is your leftover the funds after you've purchased the property. It's another reason why I love the idea of being a guarantor, because it does allow you to keep some money available to cover the risks, like being out of work for a couple of months, or taking 6 months maternity leave, or whatever it happens to be. If you've got money as a buffer, then it makes things easier to manage. Whereas people that put every single cent of their money into the property to get the smallest possible loan are actually running a bigger risk. Because if one thing happens in their household, they're going to miss their payments and it's going to cause stress and anxiety. Now, if we can manage all those risks and if we do the guarantors in the right way, then we've got a much better chance of making the guarantor less risky. And at least we know where we stand on everything. So if you know someone that can benefit from this video, please share it. Thanks for listening. I'm Max Phelps from Golden Eggs Home Loans, where we love to help you grow your golden eggs.